Welcome back, NBA fans and Sixers fans. This one is for you. The Sixers, as you know, struggled, man. We went through a process, and in the 2014 draft, with the third pick, a player by the name of Joel Embiid slipped to us, and we picked him up, and we drafted him, right? And from that moment, the whole Joel Embiid thing it began, right? Remember when Embiid was drafted, and there was that huge, time delay? When they showed the video of Embiid's room getting drafted to the Sixers, and he was pissed. He looked so upset to come to Philadelphia, and it was just immediately, that was the legend of Joel Embiid. And I think if you like him or dislike him, you have to admit he's one of the most exciting players, one of the funniest personalities, just one of the coolest guys in the entire league, and oftentimes I don't think he gets enough credit for how far he's come, how talented he is, how much he's done to be where he's at in the situation right now. Embiid was born in Cameroon, and he came over during high school to come and play basketball. Originally, he started as a volleyball player, and I remember hearing a lot of stories about him. One was that his dad never wanted him to play basketball, and Embiid just was like, screw it, came to America. Actually, it was founded at a Lukamba Mute camp, which is insane, just the sheer coincidence of luck and everything to come and happen to him as a young kid, to come over to America to give him a chance to play basketball. And so he came over, he went to the Rock School and Montverde, both were in Florida. And I remember another story about him playing high school basketball, and he was so atrociously bad during a practice one time that all the other teammates were laughing at him, and his coach was pulled everyone aside except Embiid and was like, you may laugh now, but this guy right here is going to be worth more than any of you will ever be combined in your lifetimes. And soon Embiid gets picked third overall. He comes to Philadelphia, and he immediately embodies the idea of the process. Philadelphia will always have such a gratitude and appreciation and connection with Joel Embiid that I don't think it will ever go away, regardless of what happens in his career, where he ends up, if he ends up anywhere other than Philadelphia. And when he says he wants to bring a championship to Philadelphia, when he says he wants to stay in Philadelphia forever, I believe it. I believe it. And I believe it because he spent the most time in Philadelphia than any other place in the United States. And this is a home to him. Philadelphia opened their arms to this guy, and he recognizes that. He really does recognize that. Embiid, early in his career, obviously didn't play, and he battled injuries, and he still battles injuries, and he lost his brother early in his career, and it was just he came to a point of do I want to play anymore? And he fought through it. And Embiid, man, this man was so skinny in college. The fact that he put on all that weight and just is one of the strongest players in the league. He is an absolutely dominant low post force offensively and defensively. You got to give this man credit where credit is due. Oftentimes I think maybe he's out of shape, maybe he's a little overweight. Yeah, I agree. But would you rather want somebody like Embiid or a body like Skal Labissiere? You know what I mean? I would rather take an Embiid where he's at. And the way he's polished his game, his shooting, his mid-range jump, his touch, his dribbling, his defense, he's hands down a top 3 center in the league. And my thing is, I think he is primed for an MVP type season this year. Because A, he's kept his mouth shut. He hasn't come out and said anything, really, since the end of the season. And that's not like Embiid. And I think he's going to come back conditioned. I think Doc Rivers is the perfect coach for him, and I think that for a couple of reasons. One, I think Doc Rivers is the type of coach that's going to push Joel Embiid extremely hard. Doc Rivers has been known to give the right balance between kicking somebody in their ass to push them harder and also talking highly on someone and praising somebody to let them know they're still an elite dominant player. And that is exactly what Joel Embiid needs. I love Doc Rivers for a lot of reasons, and I think one of the reasons is because of how much I think he can get out of a player like Joel Embiid. Doc Rivers is that type of coach where it's like, say it's like he'll do a pregame interview for like a team against like the Hornets or like the Bulls, like a team no one cares about, and like the team might just not be really excited and, you know, prepped to play because they're just like, we got like the Nuggets next, but we have the Bulls now. Like, let's just focus on the Nuggets. Nah, but see, Doc Rivers is the type of guy who will do an hour pregame interview and just talk so highly about like a guy like Ben Simmons or a guy like Joel Embiid. He'll be like, you know, like, this dude's having an MVP type season. He's not being appreciated enough, blah, 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 blah. He will praise the hell out of that player, and that player will go out against that team like the Bulls or the Hornets and dominate for 40. And that's the type of stuff I think you're going to be seeing this year with Embiid. I think Embiid is going to play a lot more in the post than he has been the last year and a half, which is exactly where we need him to be. Don't get me wrong, I think a stretch 5 is important, right? But Joel Embiid is simply just not a good shooter. He shoots like 30% from 3 career-wise, and though I think it's important for him to occasionally step out there, especially if, you know, he's feeling it during that game, we can't be having him out there all of the time, right? I think the paint pick and rolls between him and Ben Simmons, have shown to be really productive, have been really efficient, and we don't do it enough. And I think maybe Doc Rivers will bring that back. See, the problem with Ben Simmons and Embiid on the court together is not that they don't play well together, because they do. History shows that those two are actually pretty phenomenal together when there is a shooter on the court like JJ Redick. The problem is that Ben Simmons is such an interesting NBA player. I think he is unlike anyone in the league. I say that because in transition, he is a point guard. He is a full-fledged point guard. He gets the rebound, he's down in the court in 5 steps, and he's dunking on somebody. He is an absolute transition beast. However, when the Philadelphia 76ers turn into a half-court offense, Ben Simmons changes. He's no longer a guard. He plays more of like a 4 and a 5, which is interesting because he's not a great half-court passer, though he is one of the best passers in the league. Half-court-wise, he's not one of the best. And he becomes this baseline runner, this guy who will constantly be cutting, a guy who will play more in the paint and, you know, poking out for open looks. And that's hard for Joel Embiid in the half court because, you know, that's exactly what Embiid does. Embiid is more of the paint presence. But with Ben Simmons, it's just interesting because that's also the same exact thing he does. So I think it's going to be interesting to see those two play together with a guy like Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris to the 4, which is so vitally important to me. But, you know, back to Embiid, I think he's ready for the best season of his career. Now, 2 years ago, he had like 27.5 points a game. I think he is going to be near that again this year. I think he's going to be healthy. I have a feeling he's just going to be better conditioned. He's going to be maybe a little skinnier, maybe not, but I just think he's going to be conditioned to play more. And I'm so excited because I think with a new scheme, not only will Ben Simmons excel because of a guy like Seth Curry and a guy like Danny Green and a guy like Tobias Harris at the 4, not the 3, and a guy like Al Horford on an entirely different team in an entirely new city, but so will Embiid, because Embiid is a good passer. I think he's oftentimes underrated as a passer, and I think with Joel Embiid in the paint, he's not going to be getting double teamed as much. Like, remember in the playoffs against the Celtics, and just constantly, Boston has been playing the perfect example. They double team Embiid, and Embiid doesn't have anything to kick out to. He'll kick out to Al Horford or a kick out to Tobias Harris, or Josh Richardson. They just haven't made enough three-pointers to keep the other defense, you know, honest. But with Seth Curry, they're not going to be able to double team Embiid as much as possible as they've done in the past, and it's going to be barbecue chicken for that man in the paint. And I am really excited because I think also Embiid is one of the best rebounders in the NBA. He's been that way ever since he stepped into the league, and he has such a good mid-range touch. He's so aggressive at getting to the line, and he's such a good free throw shooter for how big he is, for his size, for his position, and his knack for drawing fouls, like, you know, like that play, like, you know, he's backing him up and then he posts, like, and then he'll face the defender up and then he does that he reaches his arms out and he gets the guy to draw, and then he just does that stupid flailing shot. He gets the call every time. Joel Embiid plays chess when other centers play checkers, and there's not a lot of centers like that. I think he's better than Karl Anthony Towns by a lot. I think Embiid has Defensive Player of the Year potential so badly, but last year he took a step back defensively, and he still was an elite defender. He needs to be smarter. He needs to be quicker laterally for sure, I think, and oftentimes he just needs to be more aware. But his shot blocking ability and his awareness to jump back into a play when it looks like he's beat is so unbelievably impressive that I think Embiid is ready to finally give that season that he's been saying he's going to give. And I'm so excited for this coaching change, for the personnel change, for just the system change, because I think not only will it make Ben Simmons a much better player, a more efficient player, but it's going to make Embiid the best Embiid as possible. And I am ready, as a Sixers fan, to watch both of those things just happen at the same time, because that is what equals Philadelphia 76ers success. And I genuinely believe the Sixers are a top 4 team this year in the East, and they are ready to be what they have been trying to be for a couple of years now. And that being said, I'm going to end the video. Peace out. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe. It just means I'm going to make more videos. I post stuff every single day, usually Sixers related, but I also have other stuff coming out as well. So until next time, go Sixers.